Captain John Miller stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, watching the alien ship approach. It was massive, at least 5 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to shift colors as it moved. "They're hailing us again, sir," said Lieutenant Susan Gray, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Miller nodded. "Put them through." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the face of Ambassador Zorketh of the Galactic Council. The alien skin was pale blue, with ridges where eyebrows would be on a human. This marked the 4th communication since the Council ships had appeared in Earth's solar system 3 days ago. "Captain Miller," the alien said, its translator converting the clicks and whistles into English, "the Galactic Council delegation is prepared to dock. We look forward to establishing formal relations with your species." "We're ready to receive you, Ambassador," Miller replied. He straightened his uniform, feeling the weight of representing humanity in this historic moment. After the transmission ended, Susan approached him. "Sir, I've been analyzing their communications. There's something in their tone when they discuss our fleet." "What do you mean?" "Condescension, sir. They're not impressed." Miller frowned. Earth's Space Force consisted of 12 interstellar vessels, each one representing the pinnacle of human engineering and resources. They had seemed impressive until the Council's 20-ship delegation arrived, each vessel dwarfing Earth's largest. "Keep that observation to yourself for now, Lieutenant," Miller said. "Let's see what they have to say." 2 hours later, Miller sat in the station's conference room alongside Admiral Barbara Collins and 3 other officers. Across from them, 5 alien representatives from different species made up the Council delegation. Ambassador Zorketh spoke first. "The Galactic Council welcomes Earth to the interstellar community. We've observed your development for some time and deemed you ready for contact now that you've achieved limited faster-than-light travel." Admiral Collins nodded. "We appreciate the welcome. We have much to learn about our galactic neighbors." "Indeed," said another alien, this one with green scales and yellow eyes. "We've reviewed your military capabilities. Your fleet is quaint. 12 ships is barely enough to qualify for recognition as a spacefaring civilization." Miller noticed Susan's slight frown. Her earlier assessment had been correct. "Our ships serve our current needs," Miller replied carefully. The green alien made a sound like a snort. "The Vordak Empire maintains 10,000 warships. Even minor powers like the Tellarate Federation command fleets of hundreds. Your species will require protection." Admiral Collins maintained her diplomatic smile. "We're interested in peaceful relations, not military comparisons." "Peace requires strength," said a third alien, a massive being with gray skin that resembled stone. "The Council can offer provisional protectorate status to Earth while you develop your capabilities." Miller caught the look in Collins' eyes. They both understood what was happening. Earth was being classified as a minor power based solely on the size of its fleet. "We'll consider your generous offer," Collins said. Later, as the delegation toured the station, Miller and Susan watched from the monitoring room. "They think we're primitives," Susan said. "Did you see how they examined our technology? Like adults watching children playing with toys." Miller nodded. "They're measuring us by their standards. Fleet size, vessel dimensions. But they haven't asked about our weapon systems, efficiency ratings, or tactical capabilities," Susan pointed out. "They just counted our ships and dismissed us." "Let them underestimate us," Miller said quietly. "Humanity has always done more with less." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. A communication from Earth's government confirmed that the Council representatives would be welcomed on the planet the next day. Earth would officially join the galactic community as a minor power with a tiny fleet barely worth the Council's notice. Miller smiled slightly. Throughout human history, underestimation had often worked to humanity's advantage. Perhaps it would again. 6 months after first contact, Admiral William Pierce stared at the holographic display showing the Vordak battle fleet positioned at the edge of Earth's solar system. The fleet consisted of 50 large warships, each bristling with weapons that Earth's intelligence had yet to fully analyze. "They're not even trying to hide their intentions," said Fleet Commander Mary Rodriguez, pointing to the formation. "Classic invasion pattern." The emergency meeting in Earth Space Command's underground headquarters had brought together Earth's top military and political leaders. The mood was grim. "The Vordak ambassador delivered their ultimatum this morning," said Pierce. "They demand we surrender all mining rights in the asteroid belt and allow them to establish a military base on Mars. We have 48 hours to comply." "And if we refuse?" asked one of the civilian officials. "They were quite clear about that," Rodriguez replied. "They'll make an example of Earth to show other lesser species the cost of defiance." The room fell silent. Everyone present knew that Earth's 12 interstellar ships were vastly outnumbered by the Vordak force. "What does the Galactic Council say about this?" someone asked. John Miller, recently promoted to commander following first contact duties, spoke up. "They consider this a regional dispute between a major power and a minor one. Their official position is non-intervention." In other words, Rodriguez said bitterly, they don't care what happens to the species with the tiny fleet. Pierce stood up straight, his decision made. "We will not surrender Earth territory to threats. Activate Protocol Thunderbolt." The officers in the room exchanged glances. Protocol Thunderbolt had been developed in secret shortly after first contact, when it became clear how the aliens viewed Earth's military capabilities. "Sir," Rodriguez said, "should we reveal our hand now?" "The Vordak don't know." "We won't reveal everything," Pierce interrupted. "Just enough to make them think twice. Commander Miller, I want you to handle the diplomatic response. Make it sound like we're considering their demands. Buy us some time." "Yes, sir." As the meeting adjourned, Intelligence Officer Susan Gray approached Miller. "The Vordak ambassador is waiting in the diplomatic wing. He's expecting our surrender." "Then he's in for a disappointment," Miller replied. The Vordak ambassador, a tall reptilian being named Crespach, stood with his back to the door when Miller entered. His scales were dark red, a sign of his high rank in Vordak society. "Ambassador," Miller said, keeping his voice neutral, "I've been authorized to discuss the terms of your proposal." The alien turned, yellow eyes narrowing. "There is nothing to discuss, human. Your species will comply or face extinction. The Vordak Empire has conquered dozens of worlds. Your pathetic fleet cannot stand against us." Miller felt a flash of anger, but kept his expression carefully blank. "Perhaps, but Earth requests 24 additional hours to prepare our response. Surrender of territory requires proper documentation." The ambassador made a dismissive gesture with a clawed hand. "Your delay tactics are transparent, but inconsequential. 24 hours will make no difference to the outcome." "Thank you for your generosity," Miller said, bowing slightly. After the ambassador left, Miller hurried to the command center. Rodriguez was already there, issuing orders to Earth's defense forces. "The Vordak gave us the extra time," Miller reported. "Perfect," Rodriguez said. "We've already activated the shipyard modules at the Dark Side lunar base. The fleet is implementing the modifications as we speak." On screens around the room, technicians and engineers worked frantically on Earth's small fleet of ships. Each vessel was being transformed in ways the aliens couldn't imagine. "Status on the Neptune defense grid?" Pierce asked a nearby officer. "Online and cloaked, sir. The Vordak have no idea it's there." Pierce nodded grimly. "They mock our tiny fleet because that's all they can see. Let's make sure that when they do find out what they're really facing, it's the last mistake they ever make." Chief Engineer Alan Wright's fingers flew across the control panel as he made the final adjustments to the ESS Defender's propulsion system. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the climate-controlled environment of the lunar shipyard. "Hand me the quantum calibrator," he said to his assistant. The young engineer passed him the tool, eyes wide. "Will this really work, sir?" Wright smiled grimly. "It has to work. The entire defense plan depends on these modifications. All around them, teams of engineers worked on similar upgrades to Earth's small fleet. What the aliens saw as just 12 standard vessels was about to become something entirely different. In another section of the lunar base, Lieutenant Kate Dixon led her special operations team through combat drills. 20 soldiers moved in perfect unison, their movements precise and lethal. Remember, Dixon called out, the Vordak expect conventional tactics. They've never faced humans before. They don't understand our history or our way of fighting. One of her team members spoke up. The aliens think bigger means better. They count ships, not capabilities. Exactly, Dixon said. Throughout human history, we've won against superior numbers through adaptation and innovation. The Battle of Thermopylae, the American Revolution, the guerrilla campaigns of the 20th century. We're about to add another chapter to that history. She activated a holographic display showing the Vordak fleet formation. Their ships are powerful but predictable. They rely on brute force, not flexibility. Meanwhile, Commander Peter Johnson stood in the strategy room with a small team of tactical officers. The wall displayed Earth's complete defense plan, a complex web of movements and countermeasures. The Vordak expect us to either surrender or make a desperate stand with our main fleet, Johnson said, pointing to the display. They've positioned their ships accordingly. What about the Galactic Council observers? Asked one officer. They'll be watching the conflict. Johnson nodded. Let them watch. For too long, they've judged us by the wrong metrics. After this, they'll never underestimate humanity again. The officer studied the battle plan. This goes against every conventional tactic in the book. That's the point, Johnson replied. The Vordak have studied conventional warfare among spacefaring species for centuries, but they've never encountered human ingenuity. Back in the engineering bay, Wright activated the new systems on the Defender. The ship's hull began to shimmer slightly as nanobots reconstructed its outer layer. Adaptive armor online, he reported. The ship can now reconfigure its defense points based on incoming attack patterns. His team cheered quietly. This technology had been in development even before first contact, but the arrival of the aliens had accelerated its implementation. In another section, weapons specialist Dr. Elizabeth Mason monitored the testing of Earth's quantum weaponry. Unlike the brute force approach of the Vordak weapons, human designs focused on precision and efficiency. Energy consumption at 30% of projected levels, she noted with satisfaction. We can maintain combat operations 3 times longer than they'll expect. The most classified aspect of Earth's preparations remained hidden in plain sight. What appeared to be 12 standard ships actually contained the components for a much larger fleet. Each vessel was designed to separate into multiple combat-ready units when needed. While the Vordak and Council aliens had seen Earth's ships, they had fundamentally misunderstood what they were looking at. They had counted 12 vessels and dismissed humanity as a minor power. Admiral Pierce toured the facilities, checking on each team's progress. He stopped beside a window overlooking the lunar surface where the Earth fleet was docked. They mock what they don't understand, he said quietly. They counted our ships and thought they knew our strength, but they forgot to ask why we only needed 12. The clock continued to count down. In less than 24 hours, the Vordak would learn exactly what it meant to face human ingenuity in battle. Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the ESS Resolute, watching the massive Vordak fleet through the viewscreen. Her ship was one of only 5 that Earth had positioned as its visible defense force. The other 7 vessels had apparently withdrawn to protect Earth itself. Vordak fleet continuing their approach, Captain, reported Lieutenant Daniel White from his communication station. They're broadcasting their victory speech already, on all frequencies. Martinez nodded calmly. Let them brag. Make sure our own transmissions continue to show signs of panic and disorganization. White smiled slightly as his fingers danced across his console, deliberately introducing static and errors into Earth's communications. To any watching aliens, Earth's defense appeared to be falling apart before the battle even began. Galactic Council observation vessel has entered the system, another officer announced. They're maintaining distance, but will have clear view of the engagement. Perfect, Martinez said. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The Vordak fleet moved with precision, spreading into an attack formation that would have overwhelmed any conventional defense. Their lead ships began powering up weapons systems. They're hailing us, Captain, White said. The Vordak commander is offering us one final chance to surrender. Put him through, Martinez ordered, quickly adjusting her expression to appear worried. The screen flickered to show the Vordak commander, a large reptilian with elaborate scale patterns indicating high rank. Human vessel, the alien said, contempt clear in his translated voice. Your pathetic defense force is an insult. Surrender now, and some of your people may be permitted to live as servants. Martinez put on her best expression of concealed fear. Vordak commander, we request time to consider your generous offer. Our remaining ships are still moving into position. The alien laughed, a hissing sound that sent chills down the spines of the human crew. You have 10 of your minutes, though it matters not. Your tiny fleet is already doomed. After the transmission ended, Martinez's expression changed immediately to one of cool determination. Commence Operation Trojan. Signal the Neptune defense grid to stand ready. Throughout the small Earth fleet, hidden systems came online. What appeared to be standard thrusters began reconfiguring. Armor plates shifted subtly, revealing hidden weapon ports. The Vordak fleet is moving past the outer sensor grid, White reported. They don't suspect a thing. On the Vordak command ship, the alien commander watched with satisfaction as his massive fleet approached the pitiful human defense. The Council observers would witness how a true military power dealt with upstart species. The humans have only 5 ships in position, his second-in-command reported. Their technology is primitive. This will be over quickly. Good, the commander replied. Once we crush their fleet, we'll demand full surrender. Their planet has resources we can use. Back on the Resolute, Martinez watched the countdown timer reach 0. Time's up. Send our response to the Vordak. White opened the channel. Captain. Martinez looked directly at the screen, her fear replaced with steel. Vordak commander, we decline your offer. Earth will not surrender. The alien's expression shifted to rage. Then you will be destroyed. All ships, commence attack. The Vordak fleet surged forward, weapons charging. The 5 Earth vessels appeared to scramble into a hasty defensive position. They've taken the bait, Martinez said quietly. All ships, prepare for transformation sequence on my mark. Activate quantum communication network. As the first Vordak energy beams lanced toward the Earth ships, Martinez gave the order that would change everything. Execute deception protocol. Now. To the astonishment of the Vordak and the watching Council observers, the 5 Earth ships suddenly began to change. Panels slid apart, revealing that each vessel was actually composed of multiple smaller ships connected together. The tiny fleet that the aliens had mocked was about to become something else entirely. The Vordak commander watched in disbelief as the 5 human vessels began to transform. What had appeared to be standard ship sections separated smoothly, revealing themselves as independent combat units. Where 5 ships had been, now 25 smaller vessels formed a complex battle formation. What trickery is this? He hissed, rising from his command chair. Scan those vessels. His sensor officer worked frantically. Commander, each human ship contained multiple fully functional combat units. They were disguised as a single vessel. Lieutenant George Bennett led the first strike team of 5 ships that had detached from the ESS Resolute. His vessel, barely a quarter the size of the original ship, moved with incredible speed toward the Vordak fleet's left flank. Strike Team Alpha, engage adaptive shielding and prepare quantum missiles, Bennett ordered. Target their command systems only. The small human ships accelerated to speeds the Vordak had believed impossible for Earth technology. The aliens' targeting systems struggled to lock onto the fast-moving vessels. On the Galactic Council observation ship, the representatives watched with stunned expressions. "Impossible," whispered one blue-skinned alien. "Their fleet just multiplied before our eyes." Another council member studied the readings. "Those aren't escape pods or shuttles. Each unit has full weapons capabilities." Back on what remained of the ESS Resolute, Captain Martinez coordinated the overall strategy. Her ship, now reduced to a central command module with enhanced communication systems, stayed behind the main engagement zone. "Bennett's team has engaged the left flank," reported Lieutenant White. "The Vordak are struggling to target them." Martinez nodded. "Activate the second phase. Let's show them what human ships can really do." Throughout the battle zone, the human vessels began demonstrating capabilities that shocked the alien observers. Their shields adapted instantly to the Vordak weapons, shifting energy patterns to counter each attack. Their weapons fired with precision that the bulkier Vordak ships couldn't match. On Bennett's ship, Tactical Officer Ryan Price monitored the effectiveness of their first attack run. Direct hits on 3 Vordak command nodes. Their coordination is already faltering. Bennett smiled grimly. "Make another pass. Target their communication arrays this time." His 5 small ships moved in perfect formation, dancing between the massive Vordak vessels like wolves around confused elephants. The aliens' superior firepower meant nothing if they couldn't hit their targets. In a particularly shocking moment, one of the human ships appeared to take a direct hit from a Vordak cruiser's main cannon. The Council observers expected to see the small vessel vaporized. Instead, its adaptive shielding absorbed the impact, redistributing the energy and leaving the ship unharmed. "How is this possible?" demanded the Vordak commander, pounding his armored fist on his control panel. "They're supposed to be primitives." His second-in-command stared at the tactical display in horror. "Sir, more human ships are appearing from behind Neptune's moon." It was an ambush. Indeed, the 7 Earth ships that had supposedly withdrawn to protect the planet had also separated into multiple combat units and now emerged from hiding. The Vordak fleet suddenly faced over 50 human vessels, attacking from multiple directions. On the Resolute, Martinez received the report with satisfaction. "Neptune defense grid is online. Activate quantum weaponry." Hidden installations on Neptune's moons powered up, revealing another layer of Earth's carefully concealed defenses. Energy beams lanced out, precisely targeting the Vordak fleet's engines. The Council observation ship moved closer to record this unprecedented turn of events. What they had expected to be a quick demonstration of Vordak superiority had become something else entirely. "The humans concealed their true capabilities," one observer noted. "They allowed us to believe their fleet was insignificant." "Not just concealed," replied another, watching as the supposedly primitive human ships executed complex tactical maneuvers. They built their entire fleet strategy around being underestimated. The Vordak commander faced a decision he had never imagined possible. Continue fighting against an enemy far more capable than expected, or retreat and face disgrace. The battle entered its second hour as Captain Frank Howard led his squadron of 7 ships against the Vordak's central formation. Unlike traditional space battles that relied on overwhelming firepower, the human forces employed rapid position changes and coordinated strikes that left the aliens constantly off balance. "Pattern Delta 6, Howard commanded. "Target their shield generators." His ships broke formation, each taking a different approach vector toward a massive Vordak battlecruiser. The alien vessel fired wildly, its weapons designed for large targets, not the agile human craft. In the Weapons Control Center on Earth's moon base, Dr. Elizabeth Mason monitored the effectiveness of humanity's quantum weapons. Her team had developed projectiles that could partially phase through conventional shields, delivering precise damage to critical systems. "The Vordak are adapting," she noted, watching her displays. "They're strengthening their forward shields." Her assistant nodded. "But they still don't understand our targeting philosophy. They're protecting their weapon systems, not their navigation controls." Mason smiled. "Send the data to Captain Howard. Let's see how quickly he can exploit that." Throughout the battle, Communications Officer Nicole Sanders intercepted and analyzed Vordak transmissions. As their translator software processed the alien language, a clear picture emerged. "They're panicking," Sanders reported to Admiral Pierce. "Listen to this." She played a translated communication from a Vordak ship captain. "Their vessels are too small to target effectively. How can they maneuver like that? Request immediate reinforcements." Pierce nodded grimly. "They expected us to fight according to their rules. Record everything for later analysis." On the Vordak command ship, the situation grew increasingly desperate. The commander paced the bridge, his scales changing color with stress. 30% of our fleet reports critical damage," his tactical officer reported. "The humans are targeting specific systems rather than attempting to destroy our vessels outright." "That makes no sense," the commander snarled. "Why disable when they could destroy?" "Unknown, sir, but their strategy is effective. We've lost propulsion on our left flank. The human vessels are now targeting our weapon systems." The commander stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His mighty fleet was being systematically dismantled by what appeared to be a swarm of tiny ships. Each human vessel operated independently yet somehow maintained perfect coordination with the others. On the Galactic Council observation ship, the representatives watched in stunned silence. What they had come to document as a minor skirmish had become a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. "The humans are rewriting military doctrine before our eyes," one observer noted. "They're not trying to match the Vordak in size or power. They're making those advantages irrelevant." Another council member, from a species known for its military tradition, studied the battle with professional interest. "Look at their formation shifts. No species we've encountered fights like this. The Vordak cannot predict their movements." The battle reached its turning point when Howard's squadron successfully disabled the propulsion systems of 3 Vordak capital ships. Trapped and unable to maneuver, the massive vessels became easy targets for Earth's precision weapons. "Target their communication arrays," Howard ordered. "Let's cut them off from each other." His ships executed a complex spiral pattern, approaching the disabled Vordak vessels from multiple angles simultaneously. Quantum torpedoes struck with surgical precision, destroying communication equipment while leaving the rest of the ships intact. Back on the Resolute, Captain Martinez received the latest battle update from Lieutenant White. 40% of the Vordak fleet is disabled or has withdrawn from the battle, White reported. "The rest are attempting to regroup, but our forces are disrupting their formation." Martinez nodded. "Signal all commanders. Commence final phase. Let's end this decisively." Across the battlefield, the human vessels executed their most complex maneuver yet. Ships that had been operating independently suddenly formed into tight groups, combining their firepower to overwhelm the remaining Vordak defenses. The Vordak commander, seeing his defeat becoming inevitable, made his final decision. "Signal all ships. Emergency retreat. We cannot win this battle." As the Vordak fleet began its disorganized withdrawal, the council observers recorded everything. The species with the tiny fleet had just demonstrated that in space warfare, size wasn't everything. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the battle recording ended. What had begun as a routine observation of a minor conflict had become the most discussed military engagement in recent council history. The huge circular room was filled to capacity with representatives from dozens of species, all focused on the human delegation standing at the center. Commander John Miller stood calmly, flanked by Admiral William Pierce and Captain Lisa Martinez. None of them spoke as the council members murmured among themselves. Finally, the council high speaker, a tall being with crystalline features, addressed the humans. "In light of these events, the Council must reconsider Earth's status within our galactic community. What we witnessed was unprecedented." Admiral Pierce stepped forward. "Earth never claimed to be a minor power. You simply assumed we were, based on the number of our ships rather than their capabilities." Why maintain such a small fleet when you clearly possess the technology and resources for more? Asked a reptilian council member. Because we don't need more, Martins replied simply. Earth's defense philosophy has always focused on efficiency over quantity. We build exactly what we need. No more, no less. In the diplomatic wing of the council station, representatives from various species now approached the human delegation with new respect. Species previously considered minor powers showed particular interest. Your victory changes everything, said an ambassador from a small world on the galaxy's edge. The Vordak Empire has begun withdrawing from several contested systems already. Miller nodded. They've learned that counting ships is a poor way to measure military strength. Back on Earth, celebrations were tempered with thoughtful reflection. In the Space Command headquarters, officers reviewed the battle data, already planning improvements to their systems. The Vordak aren't the only threat in the galaxy, Admiral Pierce reminded his staff. But we've bought ourselves valuable time and respect. Intelligence reports coming in from across the galaxy painted a clear picture. The Vordak Empire was facing internal rebellion in the wake of their defeat. Subject species that had long lived under their rule now questioned their oppressors' power. This is exactly why we kept our true capabilities hidden, said Susan Gray, now promoted to Chief Intelligence Officer. The element of surprise was our greatest weapon. The council formal session reconvened the following day. The High Speaker addressed the assembled representatives with unusual gravity. Today we vote on a motion to reclassify Earth as a major galactic power, with all associated rights and responsibilities. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that qualify them for this status. The vote passed unanimously. No one who had witnessed the battle questioned Earth's new classification. After the session, Admiral Pierce and Commander Miller met with the Council's Military Affairs Committee. The other members regarded the humans with new respect mingled with wariness. You must understand our concern, said one committee member. A species that can defeat a Vordak battle fleet with just 12 modular ships is potentially destabilizing. Pierce smiled slightly. Earth has no interest in conquest or aggression. We simply defend what's ours. Then why develop such advanced military technology? Another member asked. Human history is filled with conflicts, Miller explained. We learned long ago that the best defense isn't always the biggest. Sometimes it's the smartest. As the meeting concluded, Miller noticed representatives from several smaller species waiting to speak with them. Their worlds, too, lacked the resources for massive fleets, but possessed unique technological advantages. They're seeking alliances, Miller observed quietly to Pierce. Our approach to warfare resonates with them. Pierce nodded. Then let's talk with them. A network of innovative allies could be more valuable than 1,000 battleships. In the following weeks, diplomatic missions from Earth visited worlds across the galaxy. The species that had once been dismissed as minor powers began forming new relationships based on mutual respect and shared interests. The Vordak Empire, meanwhile, announced a strategic reorganization of its military forces. Their new ship designs were smaller, faster, and more adaptable, a clear imitation of Earth's approach. Admiral Pierce smiled when he received this intelligence report. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, he said to his officers, but they're missing the most important lesson. Sir, asked a young lieutenant,